Ladies and gentlemen, we know why you're here. These two amazingly talented people. We are going to talk first, of course, Better Off Dead. I just rewatched it again for, I don't know, 30, 40 times in life. And was showing it to some younger generation people who had never seen it and was not ever exposed to anything 80s before. Because apparently people are born in the 90s now. I didn't know.
What? Come on.
What was the thought process as an actress working on that when you were handed this material and it balances everybody here has seen Better Off Dead?
Wait, how many? Raise your hand if you have never if you have seen Better Off Dead. Raise your hand.
We have some.
Have seen it.
And raise your hand if you have not seen it. If you have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
All right. All right. Well, I really don't
Well,
talk.
let's go to the
We just have to. You are going to be in for a great surprise. Okay.
With a film that balances such an amazing, it's got a heartfelt story, it's really funny, and it's reality and complete fantasy at the same time. When you read it, what were your thought processes? Where did you get into this?
Amanda, you go first because I really want to know what you thought.
First, oops.
Whoa,
my
gosh.
goodness.
Hello, tables.
Wow,
Surreal.
I've been working out a lot. My first, the first, when I get a script, I read it many times, but the very first read, that's what you were asking.
Yes, yeah.
The table, and I couldn't remember what we were talking about. It was the funniest script I've ever read. And in fact, the script is much funnier than the actual movie. And I literally was crying and I thought, I have to be in this movie. And then the second time I read it, I was like, oh, this has a really dark undertone actually of reality, and it was handled really tastefully. So there was no, glamour. There wasn't any. People weren't making light of somebody that was having troubles in life or anything like that. But he was able to walk this line right down the middle of humor, but also handle the dark places in our minds that happen during puberty. But yeah, my first initial read was, the script was the funniest thing I'd ever read in it. The tone of the script was amazing, and it was also one of the best well-written comedies I'd read. And still to this day.
Right, at that time, right? At that
Or
time.
even to this day, to read a script that literally makes you laugh out loud. And with that, I thought, I don't know that we can actually make this as funny as the script.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's hard to bring when something is that, but we came pretty darn
Well,
close.
you said that the script is so much better than the movie. Is there?
No, not better.
No.
It was just
Funnier.
it's funny, like crying, laughing.
Is there any particular scene or something that you're like, well, that was definitely in the script, but it was never able to make, that you were like, that's a good example of what you mean by that?
No, it's just kind of an overall, I think we ended up making a movie that was a little bit weightier than the script.
Okay.
Felt during the first reading. But like I said, the second time I read it, you start saying, oh, there's some darkness in here. Oh, this is kind of sharp-edged in places. But the very first read, I want to make that clear, it was just the very first read was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really funny. When I read it the first time, I knew, and I wanted to ask you if you felt this way, no one had written a script like this before, ever. It had no gratuitous violence, it had no gratuitous nudity, it was just funny. That wasn't happening. That, as an actress, I'm sorry, but I did not get scripts like that. Bill and Ted's
especially in the
right?
teen market.
Well,
Yeah.
in 80s comedy,
Right.
as an actress, you had to be tired of seeing, oh, how many times do I have to show my boobs in this script?
Well, it's
Because that was
funny
all 80s comedy.
Well,
but
yeah,
this
just
was
to say, yeah. Even some of the, there was always kind of a sexual thing, even in some of the John Hughes stuff too, right? Wasn't there?
Oh, there was a little bit, yeah.
Always something, and but that was even considered okay, this is a wholesome, pure, filmmaker, and again, they have to get the audience out to see films. So what are you going to do? You're going to try to do something you can show in a theater that you can't show on television, right? So as actors, you understand that, and you know that that's going to be part of what it is. But when I got the Better Off Dead script, the reaction was, how is this possible that I'm getting a script for a movie that I would actually want to go see. And how is it possible that this is so funny? And then I knew, because I had just done a role where I was playing a French girl, that I wanted to play Monique. But did you know you wanted to play Beth? Like when you read it, did you have an idea of who you wanted to play?
Beth, definitely.
You did, okay, right? And I was like, no, I want to play Monique. And I when I went in, they kind of said Beth or Monique, or I don't know, it wasn't that clear. And I'm like, and I think I read for Beth, and I was like, yeah, Beth. But now, yeah, I could, oh yeah, I'll break up with you, John. No. It's like, no, I want to play this character. It took like this in the movie, and so they were like, what are you talking? And, I did this improv where I used the accent, and Savage was like, what? They were dying, and I was like, no, you don't understand. I am Monique, and this is how I would talk, and I'm going to do this film. And I was I remember leaving that audition, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want this so much, I want this. And it was funny, my hair was longer, and I didn't know if I really looked French, but I was like, oh, I really want this. Just gonna let it go. But I really was like, this, I know, as an actress, you get to a place in your career where you go, it doesn't even matter what happens about getting a job or not. I just know that I can make this role great. Like, I know this character, and like, if another person could make it better, fine, but this is my, when you just know, like, this is what you can do. So, so when I went and came home, and then I got the call that you're like, oh, they want you for Monique, I'm like, yes! Oh my gosh, I was so excited that they trusted me to play that character. But my question was, if they had not met me, who would they have chosen for Monique? Like, who did French accent at that time?
Did Savage ever say who he would have picked?
No, but I just recently saw a podcast he did. It's called On Location, and he talked about, he definitely wanted to have, he'd seen me in Last American Virgin, and so from that film he wanted to get me in his film, but that's all he said. Like, he knew, who. Like, he said, like, I want Diane Franklin to be in my movie, but like, I don't know, like, what, I think he was thinking maybe Beth, I don't know, but I really wonder who he would have picked for Monique, because there was, to me, no other actress who had that kind of entitlement or that relaxation with accents at the time. So
it's interesting on an alternate reality summer, who's now standing at this panel.
Right.
And
then they had to cut my hair. And that was a big deal too, because I had all this long hair, and in the entertainment business, long hair and curly hair for me was my signature. And in fact, I just wrote a book on, like, I was the first actress that kick-started curly hair in the 80s. Like, that wasn't happening. It was Farrah Fawcett. It was
it was all straight.
I came in with this movie, Last American Virgin, with curly hair, and bam, it just, all of a sudden, lead after lead after lead, and I'm like, wait a minute, my hair, this look, this dark ethnic look is coming into fashion in America. This is like becoming the American look. And then people started getting perms, and I'm like sitting there going, what? Is this real? Why is this happening? But they had to cut my hair in the film, and it was a big deal because, you make your living in a certain way and a look, and as an actress, keeping your hair sort of in between gives you a lot of options. It's not too long, not too short, you can pull it back. And when they wanted to cut it, and again, like, that was, women weren't really wearing short hair. Like Molly Ringwald, she had that cut. So it started to set off, girls can be pretty as teenagers with shorter hair, and they can be feminine. Like, that wasn't a given. It wasn't certainly happening in the 70s, although the ice skaters and the gymnasts brought that. Thank goodness, like Dorothy Hamill, they all brought that kind of look. But with Better Off Dead, no one really had that short, curly hair.
Why did they want your hair short?
Because they thought it would look French. So what they did is they cut it and they wedged it, and then it was funny because afterwards all these casting directors, after I finished the film, went, I love your hair! And I was like, what? Right, so all this time, I guess it was like, I get the guys like the longer, and the women casting directors like the short.
Like the short
Yeah,
one.
the independent and spunky, and so, but all this detail, right, about the Zoo movie, right? Anyway, next question,
no.
right? I'm sorry, I just rambled.
You were doing your accent for us, which is wonderful. I wanted to mention the fact that not only myself, but I'm pretty sure several people here had to look up where you were from, because some of us, when we found you, I found you rather young, and so when I first saw you in that, it was like, well, that's her voice.
Right.
And then when I saw you later, I'm like, well, she can do a great, very good American accent. That's great.
I'm so good at doing American accents.
And I
That's
just
right.
assumed until suddenly the advent of internet and, oh, New York. Wait, what?
Right.
I was so confused by you.
Oh, yay!
So when you said yesterday to me, oh, I'm going to do the whole panel in the accent, I'm like, please don't, that's going to break my brain.
Right.
Because I literally thought that was your voice. I have another question for Better Off Dead for both of you that we had discussed on a podcast of mine years ago that there are certain, for men, there are certain combos of people that get placed in the same movie. That as us growing up, preteen, before we go into puberty and know somewhat what we're talking about, that it's very much, oh, who do you like? Velma or Daphne?
Yeah. Right.
Oh, who do you like?
Right.
Marianne or Ginger? My generation of guys
That's very funny.
was Beth and Monique. So you fell into this icon list, especially with the 80s movies, that when it comes down to it, there were a lot of people that were like, it's one of the two. It has to be one of the two. As actresses in Hollywood, did anything of that competition between people talking ever show up in your daily lives or in your work? Did somebody cast you going, oh, I need to specifically cast you opposite somebody that is a completely different style, so that way it is a competition in people's minds? Did that ever happen to either one of you?
You know what, I not that I was aware of at the time, but when I look back in that era, I was always paired with a brunette, and usually a more like Heather from Nightmare on Elm Street or Diane. They're very similar in their earnestness and openness. Like you guys are very, so like I tended to play more, and it wasn't true in my reality, but more worldly girls. But it wasn't actually
Casting.
like that. But it was just a character I played.
Yeah,
and then, so I played that in. But so I was often cast against the more. Like earnest and virginal brunette, often. But I at the time I didn't realize that. But in hindsight, I look back at a lot of those movies, and
you're going through a list, going, yeah, nope, it's been all.
Yeah, so it was interesting. But that you say that, like, but it wasn't brought to my attention during the time because But in hindsight, I can look back with greater clarity about what was happening.
Well, first of all, I really like the fact that you had like a Monique Beth thing, because to me, like, we're both like there's like guys of different types, and so do women, right? And so I think it's really nice that we like equal in our like desirability. Like, that's super cool. What I really loved about Beth's character, one of the funniest things in Better Off Dead was I'm going out with Beth. Like, I love that. Like, that whole runner of, like, this person going out with Beth, this person, that it created, like, this great attractiveness.
God, the teacher scene is
right, the teacher.
Just
so
driving
funny.
by.
Just driving by.
Right.
Vince Schiavelli.
Kills me.
So funny.
It was so funny.
Right, and like Barney Rubble, right? Like
Yeah.
Barney Rubble saying, I love, Beth. And I love that, it keeps the movie, like, it keeps the stakes higher too. And the great thing too is we love each other in real life.
Yeah.
So like when we were like such good friends from Better Off Dead, and so we never ever thought of it as a competition ever. And in fact, what's so funny about Amanda, she had to play like she hated me or she hated John. She's like, and I'm because I know her, I'm like, she's just acting like she's like that. And she's like, I'm like the mean girl. I'm like, you are not mean. You are totally not mean. And it's just like, as actresses, we bond and we enjoy that because it's really fun to play someone who's mean. Honestly, like, I mean, to me, like, when you get to play, in real life, you're just mean. But when you're acting, you're like, I did this movie that we called Summer Girl, and it's just like so much fun. And in fact, okay, on top of it, now that we're adults, like, as we gotten older, our character and our roles we get to play are so much richer, and you get to play like somebody who's like been through it and gone through their life. And like Amanda just did the id, and if you don't know about the id, like I'm telling you, Academy Award performance. This woman, and I'm not kidding, like, unbelievable. But like she's able to now, reveal that because we believe at a certain age, like, oh, you have gone through certain of these experiences. But when you're young, you're like, oh, we just, there's the pretty Beth and the pretty Monique or whatever, like, those are the characters, right? So as we get older, you're gonna see richer stories, and we get to be more evil, and we get to be juicier storylines. But as far as Better Off Dead, the thing I think is so interesting about us as in the story is that Beth, like, you never see Beth really, we never have a scene together. It's always about John, and I think that's what it keeps it kind of pure, because you never hate us, because we never play mean girls to each other. We just are, it's sort of like we're reactive. And even when in the end, when John comes to you at the end, I'm not mad at you. I'm sad because he just doesn't come to me. Yeah. So I think we have our characters are very empathetic, and the film is, I was gonna ask you first of all, how many of you thought I was French? Really thought I was French? Like maybe.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I wasn't, thank you, because my whole life I've thought I've been an idiot, and thank you for saying I'm not alone.
That's so good.
But see, the reason why, because in the 80s, you did not publicize your personal life to the business. So, like today we know, like, Angelina Jolie plays, like, she has all these kids, and we know about her marriage and her divorce and whatever. And to me, like, that, you never knew anything. So what happened? You got to just enjoy the story. Mm-hmm. You just got to watch the story and believe the world was like that and the characters like that, and that is a gift. Like, in fact, now today, like, you might be able to watch, like, old movies, and you may not know who those actors are, but you go, oh, I just love this movie. The movie is the thing that stands out. But today, because everyone's so, like, it's sort of like celebrity oriented, we like to know the background, but it takes away from the story. You say, oh, that's Diane Franklin in that story, or that's Amanda was in that, as opposed to, wow, this is a great story. So I'm very complimented the fact that you guys did think I was French. I did get like I think like some reviewer said, or, crackpot French or whatever, and I was like, the interesting thing about doing a French accent is that when you do an accent of any kind, the realer it is, the more difficult it is to understand. So what happens is when you do an accent, you have to not only know it, but you have to pull it back a little, because it can't be so that American audiences wouldn't understand it. So, like, as for instance, I did a German accent. So for a film, I had to do the German play, the documentary where I had to speak with a German accent. Now, when you speak with German, there's a lot of stuff. So then when you do voiceover, this is too difficult to understand, right? So I had to go understand, right? So it's like so interesting with voice, because you don't even think about it, but as an audience, you're going to be affected by, you have to be able to understand the audience. Yep. So I'm very complimented. Like, I hope that I will always be remembered for Better Off Dead, actually, for my life, because, and that film, like, people will think that that's a French girl, I don't know, I just am so grateful. So thank you, and I applaud you for thinking
I also wanted to mention that with your two characters in Better Off Dead, I have a friend of mine who is a professor at a film school, and she teaches a course in feminist icon characters. And she mentioned both of your characters because of the fact that, as you said, the story revolves around John's character, and you two are not mean directly to each other at all. But also both of your own journeys are influenced by John without being controlled completely by John. You leave and go on your own path.
Right.
You are interested, but go on your own abilities.
Right.
So that's one of the things that she was like, you can do it in small comedy doses too, if you have the right people behind it. And that definitely comes under both of your performances in that.
I have to interject, I'm so glad you saw that. The early 80s was a time where, I was like the last American Virgin, victim, object, of a film. Early 70s, girls were still being the object of adoration. Not that that's bad, mind you, it's kind of fun. There's a romantic aspect to that. But entitlement started happening with John Hughes and all that. Even Fast Times, more entitlement. We started talking about the girl's story. It was the girl's story at the beginning of the teens, of the 80s. We never had teen stories that revolved around female, ever. whatever. So, okay, so the audiences, they go, oh, well, you've got an audience. So now we've got entitlement. Now we get to the mid-80s, Better Off Dead. My character, such an entitled hero. She can do everything. She doesn't need a guy, but she likes them. She wants to hang with them. And to me, like, what I really loved about my character was I was able to fix a car, but I could also be feminine and have my food. And what do they have to do? They have to make me a foreigner to make that true,
Yep.
right? I have to be a foreigner to be capable and sexy and fun. Like, what? So what, otherwise I'm a tomboy here in America. And so I totally backed that in a class, because you can really write some very good papers on Better Off Dead
Oh, yeah.
and that 80s generation for women. Because in real life, in the 80s, women were trying to get to the men's world of work. Like, they had gotten their education, they're like 9 to 5 with the big shoulder pads, and what's that movie, Network or Broadcast News, remember that? And those movies were all about women entitlement and like a young woman making it in the world, competing with men, and at the same time, honestly, a lot of the men were raising families, and they're like, why are you trying to take my job? I have to support my family, right? But we really got a lot of entitlement with women coming in and going, I can take care of myself. I don't need you to take care of me, but I want to be with you. Like, I want a relationship, but let's not make this so power distant, different. So, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but I have to bring this up.
It's your show.
Oh,
Interrupted
and I'm like,
me.
Vanda's like, why are you talking? No, I know she's great. So, but it's so real. I mean, what you're talking about is so on point about those films. We look at them as they're light, fun teen films. You're going to look at them as those are my memories growing up, but they seriously influenced your lives growing up because they told you what girls are capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing. So, the funny thing about it is I had this conversation with this guy who is a fan, a longtime fan, who he was actually a big fan of Amityville. And he connected with this guy in Europe and made this cast of me from Amityville or something. But this guy in Europe is also doing, he does action figures. I said, I want an action figure of Monique Genet. I said, I want it in the coat and like this. And I said, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
And I said, because she really was an example of a real life hero for women who are able to do, they can be all of themselves.
Well, they have all these retro lines now that are supposed to look like old action figures that I grew up with, and some of the younger people are like, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Right.
But they look just like that, but they're made now to look like that. So I'm sure, yes. I'm sure you'd all buy a Monique action figure, right?
Yeah. No, and the guy's doing it right now. He's going to contact me. So I'll let you know if there's a Monique Genet action figure, right? So stay in touch with me, because if I find out, that would be
That's
amazing,
gonna be awesome.
right?
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I do want to open it up. Does anybody have any questions about Better Off Dead? Because I do want to talk about some of your other illustrious careers that you've had some amazing roles under your belt. Does anybody else have anything Better Off Dead questions?
Better Off Dead, anything?
Yes.
This is related to Better Off Dead, but I was just wondering, Diane, listening to you do those accents, they sound so authentic. Did you actually have a dialogue coach, or is this just something you picked up by ear?
Well, first of all, I love accents. And the interesting part is my parents had accents. They were German and Austrian, so they talked like this. But I never heard it because I was growing up. You know, when you grow up with your parents and you don't hear anything. But I did grow, you don't hear anything. You don't hear anything anyway, but you just it's like they go blah, 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 and just don't hear. But I grew up in Long Island where everyone talked like this, right? So I could have talked like this. Okay, so what happens was when I was 10 years old, my agent says, you can't talk like that. And so I was talking a little bit, not too bad. Oh yeah, my agent, I talked a little bit like that, a little bit Long Island, a little bit light, a little long. So, I mean, I'm really pushing it now, but that's how you do the Long Island accent. So I had to be aware of my voice. So what did I do? Watched the news. They speak completely clearly, and they have that mid-American voice, and there's no accent whatsoever. So I watched the news, copied them. As a kid, learn to speak more, listen, and take it in. Then, when I started getting older, then we took trips. So we went to Canada. So then that was the first time I heard a French-ish accent and people spoke French, which is very different. Canada accent, you know, they talk like Canada, so like there's a little bit of like, right? Like, oh yeah. So so there's a little, I'm not good at my Canadian accent, but I heard it, and I was like, I love this. Then I took French at school. Then when then I took like, I met with a dialect coach for certain accents. Then I studied dialect in college. Like I wound up eventually like learning how to break down, whereas now I can teach dialects. Like I learned it in such a different thing. So like, you know, an Irish, I can talk like an Irish person, you know, or Scottish, talk like a Scotland from Scotland, talk like
Wow.
or like, I can talk like this, you can talk like African, so like, it depends who colonized him, and you know, like maybe that sounds like Jamaican, you know, but like the voices, right? So like, It's crazy. So anyway, but I think it really first stems from the love of it, and then I think it's the love of anything. If you love something, you're gonna look it up. And with YouTube, I mean seriously, you can get a college education on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Forget the money, stop it. Just go and learn what you wanna do. Why you wait for somebody else to say it's okay to do it? Go online and learn. So, there you go, that's what it is. Good question. Wonderful. Thank you.
I want to talk about some of your other career, and now I need to turn to Amanda because you told me yesterday, as I was at your booth, that you're very used to sitting near Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund and not talking. So I need to ask this question to you to make you talk, and that is, you are down in history as Freddy's first kill. That, for horror fans, is a giant thing. How has that hurt, helped, influenced? How has that affected your life from that moment forward?
It hasn't hurt my life at all. I want to make that really clear. You know what? True story, it never occurred to me I was Freddy's first victim. Heather and Robert invited me to a convention about 10 years ago, and I didn't know there were conventions. I don't know why I didn't know, I just didn't know. Maybe it was like 12 years ago. And I was like, is it like an RV show? Like, I didn't know. And they're like, no.
It's a little bit, yeah.
No, but it was amazing. So I showed up we were at, gosh, what's the one, Cherry? Is it Cherry Hill?
Chiller?
The Cherry Hill?
Cherry Hill, New Jersey?
Is that what it was?
The Chiller one in
Is that
Cherry Hill,
Chiller?
New Jersey. Yeah.
We came and it was so filled with people who loved us. It was mind-blowing, like it blew my mind. But it was there that somebody came up and said, oh my gosh, I get to meet Freddy's first victim. And I was looking, I was like, damn straight. Oh my God. Like I have a thing. Like I didn't survive him, but I'm the thing. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, I have a thing. And I have to say, I've had an extraordinary career my whole life, you know. There's been a few years as an adult that got slower or whatever, but that particular 2 years where I got to do Fast Times, Nightmare, BetterOffDead, and Silverado, that the thing was, I was so young, I didn't realize that they were going to be not only special to me, like that I look back on so fondly and I'm so proud of, and I'm so blessed to have a legacy like that, but that they resonated with people and that people love them. And just so you know, I love hearing when people come up to me what it is about those movies they liked, like what it sparked in them, or why do you love a horror, like why does loving Nightmare on Elm Street, because it's such a sad, truly sad tale, which is why I think we all love it, because all great horror is intrinsically sad. That's how it hooks us in our heart. And then
that's how you tell the difference between good and bad horror.
Yeah. And so like I love hearing why you liked it, and it's always the babysitter or an uncle that showed it to you too young. And I love hearing like
my older brother.
Exactly, and I love hearing it. It's true. It's true, and I love hearing when people are like, do you mind if I take Beth out? Or like I just feel I'm grateful every day.
Oh, wonderful. Diane, your career, as far as horror is concerned, we have Amityville 2, we have Terror Vision.
So good.
is horror something that you have enjoyed working in and you want to keep doing, or is it something that it's like, I've liked my time?
It's funny you should ask her that at this moment.
Really?
Very funny. Very funny.
Where did that segue come from?
Interesting. Well, my daughter, she does comedies. Okay, so I was like, okay, my daughter, I'll do comedies for her, and we do this. But I thought
Olivia, correct?
Right, Olivia. And if you want, okay, I'm just gonna
It's
plug her
Diane's
now.
mini-me,
Okay.
and I'm not kidding.
Right.
It-
I'm gonna plug her now. Okay, she just okay, it's got bad language, so I'm just letting you know, but we're all adults. Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. Then you'll love this. Okay, she writes direct
Crowd swells.
Right, crowd swells. Yeah.
Suddenly you're
All
speaking
right.
their fucking language.
Right, she's like, right. Okay, then she'll bring on the panel next time. Go to YouTube, and you'll find these like 8-minute episodes it's called a show called Sugar Babies, but you gotta put Sugar Babies, barely legal comedy. Because if you just put Sugar Babies, you'll get porn, which
Please
is okay.
put comedy after barely
Right,
legal.
yes, exactly. And you can't just put barely legal comedy, barely legal, yeah, because you'll get porn too. So just put the whole thing in, or just put oliviadelaurentiis.com. They might have a link. But anyway, okay, I'm just going to segue into that. So she does these comedies, they're hilarious. She writes, directs, acts, and edits with her writing partner who is hilarious, the two girls. Killer. If you think I'm funny or I'm talented, just stop it. Just stop watching and go to my daughter. Okay, just stop it, right? It's crazy. She's
Can't
like,
we have both?
no, okay,
You can have
fine, you can have both. But she's like hilarious, and I did do an episode of her show, so you'll see me in it. But anyway, she's trying to sell it as a show. So if it happens, you guys will be in this room are the only people who know, and probably whoever sees this on that camera. So, what was the question?
It was horror. It was
Right.
going towards horror.
Horror. So then I thought, gosh, I would love to do some horror again, because those are where the really dramatic roles are. It's certainly just either that or it's like a cop show, and I just was like, I'd love to do some horror or sci-fi. I would love to be in a Star Trek, like that pulled back hair, like, Cap Commanders, that's go to ship number 6, we're going to destroy their universe.
There's a new series for Star Trek.
So
Let's
I'm
get it on
hoping,
the show.
knock on wood, let's keep the voice going on. So I'd love to do like a sci-fi thing. But I put out the word about horror too. Well, lo and behold, somebody heard me, and a couple of directors contacted me last year, and I did 2 thrillers that are coming out, I think, this year. One's a sort of a film festival film, and then the other one, maybe, I don't know where their distribution is, but it's called Waking Nightmare. So look out for it. And basically the deal with that film is it's about my daughter, a girl named Shelley Regner, who is in Pitch Perfect. She's one of the Bellas, dark-haired Bellas. She plays my daughter.
I know all of the pictures.
Good. I know, right? Pitch
That's
Perfect
all I
is
need to
amazing. What a great movie. And she plays a girl who commits murders in her sleep. And I play her mother. And my husband is played by Jamison Newlander, and he was in Lost Boys.
Okay.
And David McNaughton is in it also. He plays a role in that as well.
Oh.
No, right, Dr. Pepper. McNaughton, I said, Naughton, David Naughton, thank you. It's like Duck, right. He was in American Werewolf in London, which was my personal favorite of his work. So, it brings back some 80s people, and the film is so scary, and if you see me in this film, I'm gonna, how I surprised with Better Off Dead, this is gonna be a whole different level. I'm gonna scare the heck out of you. Yeah, it's gonna be unbelievable.
So you're gonna take me having a crush on the cute French girl to being scared?
You're gonna be so,
Thanks, that's what I need.
So remember, watch Better Off Dead after, right? So,
And she has other things in the works that are going to be really amazing.
Yeah, watch the comedies
Can't
after.
talk about that.
So
Oh, yes.
Are you gonna spill something? I wanna hear.
All I can say is that I was approached by a director, and there might be a remake of a movie that I did, and we'll see if it goes through. But if so, I'm supposed to maybe shoot it this summer, so we'll see.
Awesome.
And if that is, it's an incredibly juicy role, and I will just kick it, and it's gonna be amazing. So we'll just keep your eyes out. I don't know, find me, Diane Franklin 80 on Twitter. Just stay somewhere, stay contacted. Check Facebook, and that's where I'll have announcements of films or things that are coming out. But it's great. All the 80s stuff is like us as actresses are being remembered, and that's a gift. Amanda and I know, that's not a given. She's just in another film that's a film festival.
I was about to ask,
Talk
what
about,
else?
yeah,
What else do you
Amanda.
have besides the Id?
Get the Id. You can rent it, buy it. You won't be disappointed.
Is the id at your booth, by the way, Amanda?
I sold it all.
Oh no! So if you don't have it, you're gonna get it
You
later.
can stream it on Amazon.
Stream it.
Or you can buy it from Amazon or hard copy rent it from Netflix.
There you go.
Thank you, Diane.
It's
Diane's so
amazing. No, I'm serious.
Besides the id, what other projects are you working on?
There's a movie coming out in September called The Hatred that is,
Oh, I've heard.
it's a supernatural ghost story horror film. The script was so scary that I kept putting it down going, I can't finish this. I can't finish this script. So I hope that I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's great. And I play David Naughton's wife in it. David and I are the parents, and it's my second go around
There's
with
that
David.
6 degrees right there.
Yeah, and David and I, we seem to be destined to always play husband and wife in movies. So, and then I have a movie coming out called Watcher of Park Avenue that's about a serial killer I think it's going to be good. We shot it in New York, and I play a detective, and it's very scary. And a movie coming out called Madison that's also a horror film that ironically stars the little girl. This stuff, I'm not making this up, stars the little girl who played David and my daughter in The Hatred. You never bump into people that often, so I don't know what this last...
That is so funny because
Isn't that bizarre?
my next question for both of you is, you go through your entire IMDb and you see all of the TV shows in the 80s that you guys have appeared on. In life, at auditions or at other film projects, how often do you run into people going, hey, I played your girlfriend in this movie?
Not as often as you would think,
Yeah.
really. I mean, you do see people. It's actually...
At the conventions now, it's nice.
Yeah, I'm going to say I see you run into more
Yeah.
people, but this last year, like, when I don't know, like, and then I did, I have another film coming out, and I can't think of
But with the night one, though, also the one
Oh yeah, It Happened Again Last Night is a story about domestic violence that's really brutal, and it's in the film festivals right now, and it stars some really amazing and talented young actresses, and that's kind of the fun thing. The last year I played the mom and doctor. Oh, I know, I have this amazing scary monster movie coming out called Big Legend. That's why I'm like, oh
Big
my god.
Legend.
Big Legend, and it takes place in the woods. That's all I'm going to say. I can't say anything else. But it is freaking scary.
I think for scary, that's one of the only things you really
I know.
can
It's
do.
like all I have to say is
Takes place
it's in the woods. It
That's
takes
all I
place in
do.
the woods,
I
and
think
there's
people that will
something
not
not
go camping
human. Yeah.
because of that. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exciting. But yeah, you know what? I would have to say, like, running into people at the convention. Although Diane and Heather and I are friends in real life, so we see each other all the time. And we
I
each
love
other.
that. I love that all 3 of your booths are right next to each other.
Yeah.
It's when and the 3 of you are talking to each other just as often as you are. With
Heather
all
and
of them.
Diane are amazing. They just are like really cool people.
We're connected. What's so funny is we do our acting, and then the conventions are like an excuse to have like a reunion. So after we're doing our show, like here, we get together and it's like, ba, 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 ba. And it's sort of like a girls' night out, right? So
Yeah.
we're just like all talking. But what's great is because the reason why that happens is because we have these like gifted lives, like these just gifted opportunities to transcend, like even like being in the business. Like I started acting when I was like 10 years old, and when I started, there were a lot of people who started but they didn't stay. So like we are sort of the true blue actors
yeah.
who hang in there, and you see there's a lot of actors, but not maybe they don't stay in it for one reason or another, and so there's a lot of respect for each other, and sort of like, oh my gosh, like how did you get through this? What did you do? And so a lot of camaraderie. So it's very fun.
I'm pretty sure somebody in this crowd would lynch me if I do not bring up Bill and Ted.
Oh, yeah.
You too, right?
So I need to ask, as somebody who, we were talking about, feminist icon, and you played the princess. So how was that in the list of roles as far as how did you bring forth, because you are more than just the princess in the movie. So how did you bring that in without it? Let's face it, that script is very much this is the level that we're going to write this comedy on.
And it's also total for the guys.
It is, and it's
Amazing.
not Better Off Dead at all, but still there was this, oh no, they aren't just the princess. So how was that in the script? Was that something that you brought forward? What?
Well, first of all, I'm going to give you a little English accent because you can't talk about Bill and Ted's unless you're British.
Yes.
So, very important. Bill and Ted's. Okay, so when I first went for Bill and Ted's, I thought that they were going to see me for Joan of Arc because she's French.
Yes.
And I thought, and then they went, in the audition, well, but can you do an English accent? I'm like, of course I can do an English accent, there's no problem. And then all of a sudden they offered me the part of the princess, and I didn't even remember the part of the princess in the script. When I read it, it was like, because I think it was just the princesses, we really didn't have names in the script originally, it was just like the princesses. So I thought, all right, okay, but I couldn't wrap my head around like why they wanted me for princess. But what happened was, I later realized Joan of Arc never talks. She never, maybe she says we, I don't know, maybe she never ever speaks. So, right?
Yeah.
So the thing was, it was more the look, and of course Jane Whedon is awesome. Is it Whedon or Whedon?
Wheatland?
Whedon? I probably can't pronounce it, but
If
she's,
she was here, I'd check.
right, she's adorable, okay, and she was like awesome, but I didn't realize until we did it that I have like more dialogue as the English princess. So there was more dialogue added, and there was, and I think it was more like the relationship, everything was to save the babes. So that became, I think, intrinsic in the idea of saving a princess, like saving them is like, it's almost like an archetypal story.
It is, because I mean, we have
Archetypal
our
story, right?
video games. I saw the one up. I mean, the entire video game industry starts with princess is in another castle.
Oh,
and we have to
wow.
go after the princess. So it's
Wow.
ingrained in us.
And then the other thing is they keep it kind of generic because I think they wanted the guys to stand out. If you have a princess, you know, Joanna and Elizabeth, and we were so more present, it wouldn't be about the guys. And I think very big part of Bill and Ted's is their friendship. That is the focus of the story. So if the princesses became too like more than babes, we would focus on the friendship.
Yes.
And very few films are really, I mean, Dumb and Dumber have a friendship. We're talking about like, it's a very important thing. Guy friendships, in this particular case, I mean, there are films that explore girl friendships too, but this was, at that time, the focus of the film. So, and they need each other, you know, they just need each other as buds. And so the girls, you can't need the babes. They have to be like, you know, obviously feminine and you save them, but it's not, their relationship comes first. You
Yes.
have to. So, so a little bit tidbits on that. One is, it was just Bill and Ted's Day, because it was June 9th, 6/9, dude, right, 69. So that just happened, which was very fun. And then I just found out Alex Winter is going to be doing a Q&A at the Aero Theater in Santa Monica on the 2nd of June, and I'm going to be at that, which is really
wonderful.
fun. Yeah, so I'm going to do the Q&A with him, with the other princess, Kimberly LaBelle, who's now changed into Kimberly Kate, so the two princesses will be there. So that's going to be super fun.
Wonderful.
And the last thing is, I think they're trying to do a Bill and Ted's 3.
Yes, they are.
And I'm hoping I'm going to get more of a scoop on this. I hear the problem is litigation. I heard there was
Yes.
a little problem that way. But maybe, you know, but the guys originally, we weren't in Bill and Ted's 2, but they're interested in us in the 3rd one. We'll see.
That'd be good to get back to basics for 3. Then.
Right?
Yeah.
I just think it's nice for the fans, like, to bring back, you know, it would be so funny for Bill and Ted to be like, you know, like, dude, we're gonna watch TV and play video games, and we're like, oh, well, me and the Princess Elizabeth are going to the mall to spend money. You take care of the children, you know, like, it would be kind of a funny setup. So
I have one more question before I open it up to see if there's any questions, because we're coming to the end of our panel time. For Beth and Monique, what would you be doing now if suddenly we peeked into the Better Off Dead world? Where are both of you now?
What do you say? This.
I think Beth would be on her 3rd marriage. She would have married up, of course.
Of course.
And she'd probably be living in the Hamptons, right?
Right?
And she would have her 2 children, possibly by baby daddies. But she would be, and I think at some point she'd wake up and say, I don't know that my life has been very happy. Do you know what I mean? Because I think she was kind of looking outside herself.
That'd be an interesting new dark comedy.
But I think and I think that she and Monique became friends.
we did become friends, but here's what happened. We moved to Colorado where they're skiing, and I married Lane. We have children, and they love to ski. They bomb down the hill, and I see her there, and when her marriage didn't go very well, she was looking at Lane. She was interested in Lane, but Lane was very nice. He tried to devote it, but she was very, seductive, and but we remained friends, and I would have hot chocolate and play with the children and hats. So, and I would fix her car. Yes.
You have to. Do I have any questions for these two amazing actresses on any of their wonderful film careers? No. Then this is, oh, here we go, ihorror.com.
One of our viewers want to know, this is for Diane, the film that you were talking about with the murdering in the sleep, what is that coming out on?
I don't
Waking
know
Nightmares,
yet.
correct?
Waking Nightmare, I'm not sure yet, but they just, like the company just tweeted like it's moving forward. So tell her to go to wakingnightmare.com and maybe, or even like on Twitter, find Waking Nightmare, and we should know, I think this year, maybe, who knows, it could be Netflix, I'm not sure where they want to do their deal.
There we
But
go.
thank you for asking.
Awesome. I thought I saw a hand over this direction. No, wonderful. I do need to personally thank, and everybody give a great big round of applause for Diane Franklin. Oh, we have another question, yes.
What was the name of that comedy one more time?
Sugar Babes.
Sugar Babies.
Babies.
Barely Legal Comedy. And Olivia,
Put it all out.
Olivia De Laurentiis, Delaurentis. There you go. Right.
Please,
She's
please.
hilarious. Oh my gosh. Right.
Please support these two amazing actresses. Go by their table. Get to talk to them more. If you didn't want to ask a question here because there's a lot of people, then you can talk to them one-on-one. They're both very personable at the table. And they have lots of amazing photos to sell and merchandise. I know Amanda has got the Beth coat hanger
Oh my gosh.
for sale on her booth. It's just amazing.
It's great.
Pick it up, get everything you can at their booths. Support them, because by supporting them, they will keep coming to more cons, and then you get to see them more. So please,
Thank you all very much.
one more time, a round of applause for these two.
Great. We have to have a picture together.
Oh, of
Let's do a
course.
total selfie thing. We're like, yeah, let's just take this. You ready? I'm just right? Yay. I'm gonna take a picture of you guys. Okay, ready?
Everybody punch in together.
Okay,
Smile,
fine,
smile.
Wait, hold on. I got a photo, right? Oh, there we go. And 1, 2, 3. Woo! Yay, thank you.
There we go. All right.
Oh, and free tickets.
For those of you that want to stay in here, the Noah Hathaway from Never Ending Story is going to be in here in just about 15 minutes, all right?
That'd be awesome.